Yeah, so I've got my full screen and presentation going, but Kristen's going to monitor any chats or questions that you guys have. So feel free if you want me to pause on anything or you have a question about anything we're covering today, feel free to put it in the chat box, or you can reach out to me afterwards. Here's my contact information, my email and my cell phone are right here on the screen. So feel free to do that or follow up with Kristen as needed. We're going to be recording this for you guys too, so we'll make sure to post that and distribute that later as well. So thanks for joining us. I think this is a really key ingredient for any successful growing business. Not only do we need to grow sales and inventory, but along with that, we need to grow in our acquiring of talent and our development of talent. And finding the right people to come into our company. So I'm really pleased to be speaking with you on hiring, on recruiting, and some best practices and some strategies to be more effective in this arena. To let you know a little bit about who I am, for those of you who aren't familiar, Robert, my father, started this company, and I have taken the reins here recently, and we consult with recyclers all across North America, and whether that be online or in person, or with owners groups, profit teams, we do those traditional methods of consulting. And we've really equipped our team and our company to be able to effectively work with recyclers directly online as well. We've done management and team development, from best practices and protocols to data tracking and accountability, development of managerial teams. We've done individual sales training with managers, with teams, as well as daily sales management for companies, and had a lot of success doing that. And that's funneled from our desire, working with companies and providing them better data and insight. We wanted to also be effective hands in your business to help the people that you're working with and that you count on produce more. A lot of times you guys know what to do. You're just searching for how to do it or for the right person to come in and train. So here's some of our results for some of these services, just so you guys know. We've had really successful results, whether we've been working with new hires, veterans, or across the board with teams. And primarily our services are focused on driving revenue increases, specifically in brokering and warranty, at a rate that exceeds the cost of our service, to be able to provide a good ROI for you guys. So we've typically been generating in the neighborhood of at least 5x our value per month for the companies we've been working with and the individuals we've been working with. So if you're ever needing ongoing support to boost sales, whether they just need a shot in the arm or you've got new people or anybody that's stuck in a rut, we're able to do these weekly online trainings and have really good results. Over the last 2 years, we've started a hiring and recruiting portion of our services as well. We've successfully done multiple nationwide campaigns, and that was for either multiple site operations or for someone coming in and basically being next in line to the current set of owners. We've done countless regional positions as well, anywhere from a retail clerk to store manager to dismantler, to lead those campaigns as well for companies that, time-wise, or they face their own limitations, or just tired of the struggle of hiring altogether. So a lot of what I'm going to be presenting today is rooted in these successes and rooted in what we've learned and trying to fill positions and bring talent into this field. So the first place that I think it's important to start for any company is you're setting out whether you're vision casting for the year to come, about to start a campaign, or needing to hire somebody right now, right here at this moment, just lost somebody. And the first place you need to start is basically an internal review of who you are as a company. You need to be able to look at your company through the lens of somebody who's not familiar with your company. If you stopped a stranger and had them look up your company through whether it be Google or through your website or through your online presence, what would they see? What would their perception of you as a company be? Would they look at this as a place that they see a future with? Would they look at this as a company that provides them opportunity to come and develop and grow? Do they see something that's professional? Do they see something that they feel like, hey, I can tell anyone I know this is what I do and wear it as a badge of honor? I know internally with companies I speak with, there's a huge difference in a professional, modern, progressive salvage yard and a junkyard, right? We're all aware of that. You guys buy and sell from each other all the time. So what is it in your online profile that distinguishes you? How do you showcase that to potential customers, to potential future employees? Some really innovative things that I've seen, whether it be drone footage going through your facility, interviewing your employees so that people can feel the presence of what it would be to work or exist in your facility. So that's the first place to start. If you have anything that's questionable or you have anything that presents a red flag that's not flattering or would cause anybody concern, these are the areas I would look. All of these sites, go through, review, see what people are saying. That's going to impact potential applicants. That's going to impact potential customers. Going forward in the future, I would have as many concerns about a potential employee who hasn't done any research on my company. If someone comes in, they've never heard of me, they don't know my history, many of you guys have an about us. You talk about being third generation family business. You have a story, you have a history, you're putting that out there. So if you have applicants come in, part of your question should be, what do you know about us? Or how did you hear about us? What's your perception of us? Because that's good feedback for you anyways. These are things you should be doing whether you're hiring or not, but these are incredibly important in terms of attracting good candidates, okay? So that bottom reason there is probably the most important. If you're not a company that people want to work for, then you at a minimum are going to have to pay at least market value for good candidates. And if not, you're going to have to pay more in some cases. A story about that, my brother is very successful in what he's done. He's an actuary. His services are highly in demand in the health care and benefits field. He got a job offer from a tobacco company within the last 5 years. And you guys have a guess of whether they had to pay market value or had to pay more. They had to offer him a good bit more to get his services interested, right? So they understood that as a tobacco company, I might not be the most desirable place to come to work. And if I'm going to get the best candidate and I want to succeed and have the best opportunity for growth, I got to understand how I'm viewed in the landscape and the marketplace of hiring. And so they knew that, and they adjusted their strategy accordingly to get the talent that they were looking for. Know what you want. This sounds simple, but oftentimes this is highly problematic. Many times we find ourselves in a situation where we're really just looking to fill a void. Somebody is sick, somebody is out, somebody has quit on us without notice. And now we're in a panic, now we're in a bind, and so we're just having to throw mud at the wall to see what sticks. I would highly encourage you, when you're in a position where you're comfortable with your staff, you have a good working set of people, take time to develop a plan for where are you thinnest, where are you most likely going to hire next. Evaluate yourself internally. Who are employees that are most successful in your company? That's one of the easiest places to start, is to try and create somewhat of an archetype, whether it be personality-wise, talent, work ethic, characteristics and attributes, however you want to define that. Who are the employees you really value, who are successful, who are thriving where you're at? And what makes them tick? Where did they come from? What was their prior experience? What was their history? Where can I find more people like that? Okay. So start filling that out. Start having an idea, not just of a position, a person who does this, but what that person looks like. What might their experiences be? Where might you find that person? Okay. I think that gives you a basis to be clear. You can potentially add some attributes or characteristics that make your advertisement or your posting unique and more desirable. And so even from your employees, sometimes you want to self-scout and get that information there. Be as specific as you can. We've started several campaigns for a couple of companies, and midway through, they wanted to change a requirement or they wanted to emphasize a different role. I think that lack of specificity and direction a lot of times is why we just end up grabbing a general person who applies, right? We'll just take whoever fits and we'll try and make do with what we have. If you're going to be successful, you need to have a target you're aiming for, and you need to know where to point that target, and you need the person who's reading it to connect, right? They need to be able to read what you're putting out there and see themselves in that position. So that's a sliding scale. Some of the positions we're hiring for, you can keep them pretty simple and direct. Other positions are more complicated. You might need to spell out what some of those backgrounds and skill sets are, whether it be working with certain programs, whether it be a history of purchasing inventory. Fill it out with any sort of specifics that you're going to be able to connect to somebody else's resume, and they're going to be able to connect with their experiences as well. This is probably the most important component to successful companies that are thriving and hiring at the moment. You guys are going to have to hire. It's just a matter of when and not if. It doesn't come as a shock to any of you guys that you need to purchase inventory this month. I was talking with Kristen before everyone jumped on, and we were talking about just the fact that I don't think we work at hiring the same way that we work at every other sector of our companies. We have a plan. We have people in place that are dedicated for every other function in our business, by and large, with the exception of training or hiring and screening applicants. Most of you are going to have to fill a certain number. On average, if you look back at the last few years, you're going to have had hired 3, 5, 10 people. I'm not sure what your number is, but you have data there to indicate to you how many people you're likely to need to hire this year. And what are you doing for that, right? It is more difficult to hire and find talent when you have to have it right now. You're always more likely to be successful if you have a plan in place and you're able to advertise over a longer period of time, and you're able to budget a wider range of costs to be able to attract the right applicant. You're often going to find the people you want to hire not when you need to hire. A lot of times you're going to find good talent or good opportunities, and you don't necessarily have an opening or a spot. But if you're a planning company, if you're a growing company, you know you're going to need that person down the road. And so you can account for that. And then when you have the opportunity to bring somebody in who's capable, who's talented, you've already planned ahead for that. And then you can bring them in from a point of strength, okay? Hiring from a point of weakness and having an emergency need is always going to lead you to short-sighted results. I don't know any company that hits it out of the park with hiring when they're always hiring to replace or to fill in, okay? Look to acquire talent. Look to grow. Plan to grow. If you're going to grow 10 to 20% this year, how is that going to happen? Get out ahead of that. If you know you're going to need that next dismantler, why wait until the hold lot is busting at the seams? Start now. If you feel like you've got some salespeople that are starting to age out, how long does it take to train a good salesperson these days? Take anywhere from 6 months to a year to get that person fully up to speed. So do you have time to wait, or do you need to be more proactive? If you find yourself in a bind, if you find yourself in a pinch and all of a sudden you've lost a person and you don't have somebody in a position of need that you've got to have, one of the only ways that you can really overcome that, and it's not cheap, it's going to take time and money, but it's to hire multiple people at a time, okay? If you're going to find yourself shotgunning your hires, right, throwing out, grabbing applicants, hey, this guy showed up, he interviewed, hey, well, he's a warm, let's go with him, okay? If you're in that state often, that guy's going to fail most of the time. So why not hire 2 or 3, and then your training is all going to happen at the same time. At least you're saving yourself training and time frame and getting caught up. But again, that's a short-sighted, short-term plan. That's not the road to continued success and continued development. That's just to get by. So make sure you plan ahead. You have a budget for inventory every year, or you should. You should plan what's it going to cost you, or what do you expect to need in terms of hiring and recruiting. If this is something you're not good at, if this is something you can't dedicate towards, find a skill set, whether it be us as an agency and what we do, or there's others out there as well. Find somebody that can fill this need for you. I've worked with plenty of companies over the last 5 years that they've gotten stuck and their sales have gotten stuck, and it's not necessarily because they couldn't buy inventory, they couldn't sell, or couldn't do this. They got stuck in a 2 to 3 year holding pattern of just trying to acquire talent. Couldn't find the right people to fill the need. And that's painful. That's hard to watch. It's hard to see. There's a lot of stress and aggravation that comes from not planning ahead when we're talking talent acquisition. So anybody that's on this call, one thing I would be thinking of right now, where would you be most in trouble if somebody left today? If you got that phone call while we're on this meeting right now, what position would scare you the most? Okay. Go ahead and start planning. Get at least some applicants in the queue. It doesn't mean you have to hire them now, but go ahead, get yourself, plan for the worst, right? Plan for the worst and be prepared if something goes sideways. So engaging your applicants, most of them, if they're not familiar, if they're coming from outside this industry, the better your job description, the better you can describe to them what their work life is going to be, the more likely they're going to be able to imagine themselves coming to work for you. Otherwise, this is where, if you know what your job description is, if you've written this out, you know what you want, you know what you're looking for, go hunting. You don't have to sit there and just post. There's plenty of tools available out there for you to either view companies in your area with similar positions or similar skill sets, and you have the option to scan their resume and see who's out there, who's available, who's looking to move up. Most of the applicant pool out there right now, we're coming off a time still where unemployment is relatively low. Most of the people you're going to want to hire, especially if it's a talent-rich position, your sales, your management, you need real talent, you need real capabilities. You need to be looking to hire somebody that's already employed. Your greatest success is likely to come from somebody that is already employed. The few chances where that's not the case is maybe somebody's relocated, maybe somebody's had some health issues and their circumstances have changed. That's about it. Okay. Make sure you know who you're looking for. And there's no reason why you can't be a hunter when it comes to hiring instead of fishing and putting your line in the water and waiting for the right candidate to bite. So network, engage, look who's out there. Go ahead and see who's available. Look at your companies in your area who have similar positions and skill sets, see what they're charging, see what they're billing, and see currently who they have on staff. knowing who's going to be successful is just as important, right? We want to get the right candidate, but we also want to make sure we have the right processes and that we're the right fit. You might have the right candidate, but they need training that you can't provide. There's no benefit in bringing a great, high-priced, talented candidate in, and then we don't have anybody or any program or any description, any material in place to get that person off and running and successful. Most people are going to come to you because they want to be successful. They want to succeed. They want to see themselves grow. But if they show up and they see themselves in a spot where they're just tossed in the deep end and it's sink or swim, you're going to have a lot of trouble with retention, okay? So the better you are at developing a training program, whether it be your job descriptions, your protocols, any videos, using any ARA University, whatever you use to educate or train your employees, the more active and engaged that program is, the more raw of a prospect you can hire, right? You can take more raw material and develop them from there. If training is lacking, again, you're putting yourself in a bind in both boxes. That means you're either going to have to hire dirt cheap and just live with really poor results, in which case the money that you're saving and hiring somebody that might be on the cheaper end, you're going to be throwing your time or your manager's time. You're going to be throwing a lot of high-priced labor after that person to try and get them trained and up to speed. And more often than not, that's just a losing proposition. What you end up doing is spending more of your high-dollar employee's time working with a low-productive, low-output potential employee. So I always encourage you to improve your training program and training processes. But if you're lacking there, it's even more necessary that you target somebody that's already worked in a position similar to this. They need more experience, more skill. And a lot of times, if that's the case, right, that's a relatively small pool that you're going to find yourself in. Either you're finding yourself with somebody else's reject, right, somebody who couldn't hack it at another salvage yard, or you're trying to hire maybe a talented, just disgruntled, or somebody that's looking to move up from another salvage yard. But that won't be cheap when that's the case. Involving your team. Get feedback from your current staff. This always helps attract potential candidates. If you know what your current staff, what your current employees like about their job, interview them. Figure out what they like and use that in your postings. Our current salesperson raves about how competitive and how engaging, how fast-paced our sales environment is. That's fantastic. Whatever it is, you need to be able to sell this position to your potential hires. And if you have a good team, if you have good culture, that's who I would go to say, what are our selling points? What do you like about being here? What do you enjoy about this work? And if they're in a position where their work is dependent on this coworker, whoever's coming in, then I think their feedback is completely valid. What type of skill, what type of tools, what type of requirements do I need to bring in for somebody to be a part of this production team? What type of knowledge? Do you think it's more important that they have sales knowledge or automotive knowledge if I'm bringing somebody into my sales team? The people that are succeeding or creating your culture and your environment right now should be putting input into your ads, right? You should know what they're looking for in terms of what's going to make a more successful candidate in your operation. Responding quickly, this one is simple, but it's critical. I can't tell you how quickly potential resumes or candidates go from interested to can't get them to call you back. And I would say this is something where if you don't have a dedicated person who is working your job advertisements, your job postings, you're going to struggle. This is not just something, sometimes you can't even afford to get to them at the end of the day. If they applied earlier in the day, you need to get a response to them as soon as possible. While they're interested, while they're thinking of it. That's just becoming, that's like any buying decisions these days. Consumers are becoming this way, and so are applicants. So make sure that if somebody is tasked with this, that they know this is a top priority and they need to respond as soon as possible. Something that often gets overlooked is respond to everybody. Give a yes or a no, no matter what. You never know down the road whether you might need that future applicant. So have a form letter. Go ahead and create it. Indeed does this for you as well. Thanking them for their interest and just saying it's not a right fit for this reason or that. But be professional, be respectful, and make sure you're responding to any interested applicants at least within 24 hours, if not within the same business day. Be flexible. Okay, so you've got to pick here. Okay, you can either be firm on the salary and what you're looking to pay, or you can be firm on the talent, the skill, the experience side. But rarely are you going to be able to be set in stone on one end or the other. So going into a campaign, know what's going to be more important or more flexible. Are you more price sensitive? And so you're going to have to be more willing to make sacrifices on the skill and experience and background side? Or are you more, I've got to have that talent, so I need to be more flexible on what their starting salaries, starting opportunities are going to be. This is a lot like House Hunters, or I think it's that buy or sell show, but it's like the real estate market. You have a budget in mind and you have features that you're looking for. I don't know any human in the history of humanity who's ever been sober enough to have the exact price for the exact expectations, skills, or features that they're looking for, right? We all want the best for the cheapest. And I just want to let you know, those are going to be in conflict. And so go ahead and be realistic about that going in. What are going to be areas where you can give? What are going to be areas where you can be flexible? And not only from a preference standpoint, but look internally at your team. Which of these components are going to be more negotiable, right? So looking at your sales staff, and this is different. There's not a one right answer to this. This depends completely on your team, completely on what sort of skill or deficit you're able to make up. Are you a company that needs somebody who just has blue blood, Dale Carnegie sales skills, or are you somebody that needs deep automotive knowledge to satisfy your customer? And that might be more a reflection of you as a management team and what your deficit is. Are you more capable of training sales skills? Are you more trainable of training and educating on automotive knowledge? That's up to you. Management-wise, okay, do you have somebody in your operation who's already good working with people, dealing with their problems, helping them problem solve, helping them break through whatever blocks they have? Or do you have more of a deficit on the technology side or on the number side? You're good with people, you're good with relationships, you're good with customers, but you need somebody who's more capable of crunching the numbers and making the right managerial decisions, okay? So take a good assessment of your operation and understand what areas you're going to need to be more flexible. Always review their resumes. A major concern for me whenever we're screening candidates is how often they move positions. That's not always a negative. As long as they're moving positions in a way that makes sense or shows upward trajectory, hey, they're moving to advance, I'm more accepting of that, but I also understand that if I bring that person in, they're a mercenary. And I always need to have my finger on the pulse of that person. Are they happy? Are they looking for more? Are they looking for better? But more often than not, you're looking for somebody that at least is maintaining jobs 3 years or more, right? You want to see that they're staying in place at least that long. Those of you who've been doing this for a while probably won't be shocked, but most resumes I see that are spotty are going to have somebody that's moving positions less than every year, every 6 months, 9 months. It's pretty obvious when you're dealing with somebody that can't hold down a job for one reason or another, especially if they're not staying in the same field. They're not staying in. I'll give some lenience if they're moving, But you should feel very confident in asking them these questions, and they need to have a really good explanation if they're moving jobs more frequently than once a year. Never forget, it's probably not the most important, but this is a really important aspect of it. You are selling yourself. As much as it's an advertisement or anything else, that person has to come and want to work for you. With the jobless rate being what it is right now, I need to be the pursuer. I need to make sure I'm giving the best first impression. I need to be giving them reasons why they're important to come to this company, why they'd be a good fit. I need to be painting a picture of how successful they're going to be if they come to this operation. Okay, I'm not just posting, sitting back, oh, does that kind of work for you, or throwing a price out there. Okay, we don't want to be just like our salespeople that only give a price and only quote. We can't do that in hiring. We have to know where this person is at, what they're thinking, what's going to be more important. In a lot of cases right now, some of the deciding factors in many business sectors are what kind of benefits are you offering? What are the work hours like? For us, I would say one of the major advantages that we have as an industry is there's a lot of people that are looking for more hands-on work. There's not as many sectors where they can go and work outside or work hands-on. I think that's something that if you find the right people, they're really excited about. The other component that's an easier sell for us as well is people like to matter. They want to come in and make a difference. They want to be important to a company. And us being primarily family-owned or smaller businesses, we can paint a picture of them coming in and being successful, them having an opportunity to really grow and make a difference in their community and in this business. So be aware of that. What aspects of your posting make yourself desirable? If you read your posting, go back and read your ads, read what you're putting out there. Think back through your interviews. How did you sell yourself? What did you tell this person that made them more likely to come here and work for you? Okay. If all your interviews, all your interactions, all your postings are only outward focused, they're just about the candidate, you are missing the boat. Okay. This is a buyer's market. Whoever is looking for jobs and looking for work typically is going to have the leverage right now. There's a few exceptions to that, but just be aware of that. Be aware. If you have a good candidate, be ready to pursue, be ready to negotiate, be ready to make an offer, and figure out what their needs are, figure out what they value in terms of their priorities, not just monetary. A lot of times it's enjoyment, it's purpose, it's stress. It can be a lot of intangible things that you're selling. Background checks and reference checks. This sounds simple, but you can't ever mistake calling on references. It's amazing sometimes the stories you'll get out of calling references. You're shocked that the applicant even put them down. But more often than not, they are counting on you to not call their references. Okay, so more than ever, take the time, do your diligence. Calling on references will save you a lot of headache, a lot of heartache, and save you time and save you money if you go ahead and follow through on that. Doing background checks, doing any sort of drug screenings, whatever you're looking at, you might as well let the applicant know as soon as possible. Even if you want to put that in your ad or anything like that, save yourself and save them the time of applying if they're not going to be a fit, if something isn't going to work for them. Okay. There's becoming a lot more flexibility in terms of what drugs you screen for. I highlighted and bolded weed down there. That is for emphasis, right? There's many states where those laws are changing. And if you're looking to hire anybody under 30 years old, you're going to greatly shrink the applicant pool if that's one of your bugaboos that you're skittish on hiring. So consider, are you getting enough candidates? Okay, if you want to keep that in place, are you getting the right people? Are you getting enough people? If not, you may need to evaluate that to see what kind of flexibility you have and whether that's looking at your insurance plan or talking with whoever, discussing whether that's necessary to keep or maintain. looking at your background, don't necessarily rule someone out with a record. I know that's not always ideal what we're shooting for, but there are plenty of success stories across this industry of employees that have come in with a pass, with a record, and been able to thrive and be able to turn their lives around, be able to have a success story. So we salvage vehicles, and sometimes we're fortunate enough to salvage people, and that's a really wonderful story when that's able to work. So I think that's all of the topics that I had slated on here. I tried to go as efficiently as I could there. And just remember, you can reach out to me through email, cell phone, if you have any needs. Kristen, did we have any questions at the moment, or does anybody else have any questions for me at this time with the material that's been presented?
I'm not seeing any questions yet, but anybody, if you have a question, there is a chat box at the bottom of your screen. There's also a Q&A spot, so you can just drop them in either spot, and we'll get those answered for you.